It's good to have you join us on Off the Press. I am Mary-Ann Okon. This is the show where we get to the opportunity to look through the pages of our national dailies. And of course, we never do this alone. We always have a guest in the studio to help us analyze those stories making headlines. And our guest this morning is Obinna Igwebuike. He's a management consultant. It's good to have you in the studio. Good morning.
Same here. Good morning.
All right. So let's start with the big stories on the Vanguard newspaper. That's our first national daily. Big story here is PDP Atiku in post-election trauma and depression, says APC. Well, they're hitting below the belt, I see. PDP's prayers at tribunal are at best hollow, ridiculous, says APC. PDP didn't have a plan B, just wanted to rig the election, says Keyamo. PDP saying we will reclaim our stolen mandate through the courts. And more stories here. A man stands next to the wreckage of cars washed up by floods in Chimanizimani. Okay, I hope I got that in Zimbabwe after Cyclone Ida hit both Zimbabwe and Mozambique. Now we know that that is a very big story that we've been following. Let's look at some other stories, smaller stories on the pages of the Vanguard newspaper. No one can force me out of PDP, says Agbaji. Fire shade drama in court as judge, EFCC lawyer tango. Rivers PDP elders warn against plots to shift coalition of results, and that you can find on page 8 of the Punch newspaper. Value of 30,000 naira minimum wage already eroded, says TUC. And Olusegun Aremu Okikiola Obasanjo denies collecting money from the Nigeria Open University, and he says he's demanding an immediate retraction. These are stories on the pages of our paper this morning. So I'm going to start with the big story. PDP Atiku in post-election trauma and depression, says the APC.
Well, I mean, I expected it. It's mad squabbles, really, because I think it looks like the PDP really expected that they were going to win the election, because the reaction is quite intense. And this is not, I'm not taking any sides. I'm just saying that the way the reaction came, we didn't see this kind of, you know, very emotional and intense reaction in 2015. But look, these people are politicians.
But maybe in 2015, the PDP was a bit more sure that they were going to win, and when it didn't happen, they just stepped away.
Possibly.
So what could be the reason for this surety? There's so much certainty that they can win in the courts.
I don't know. I mean, it has to be optimism. I mean, what else can it be? But look, this is not, look, it's big, it's politics, but all of this will die down in another couple of weeks, and I can assure you. Okay, so
there's been rumors that Agbaje was leaving the PDP, and he's come out to say, well, that is not true. Will there be any reasons that we could conjure up that would validate those rumors in any way, even if he said it wasn't true?
Well, I mean, the relationship, look, if he leaves the PDP, it's not likely he'll go to any other party but the APC. And we know, I mean, it's public knowledge that his relationship with the national leader of the APC is very strained. So, yeah, I think, again, it's one of those things that came out, you know, possibly because people are trying to forecast or to tell what his next political move will be. But I think he probably will retire.
Rivers PDP elders warn against plot to shift coalition of results. Rivers still staying in the news.
Maybe we should fence the states within Nigeria and do an off-season election. The truth is, look, people went out to vote, right? Let's just get this thing over with. It cannot, however the pressure is, it cannot be this difficult.
But, I mean, is this not normal or usual for Rivers State?
I mean, it's one of the more volatile states. We expected some kind of difficulty, but this is at a level that has never been seen.
Interesting. Let's just finally talk about this minimum wage. TUC saying that the value already is being eroded, and one would wonder why. Of course, you know that we have been the poverty capital of the world since 2018. So is 30,000 naira of any value to the average civil servant or government worker?
It's more than what they earn right now. Will it solve all their problems? I don't think so. Is the TUC right to say the value has eroded? Maybe not. I think it's also a productivity thing. You have to, look, giving you a wage increase is not just a statutory tool. It also is an incentive to become more productive.
So should it be placed side by side, the cost of living? Because you see, a lot of people are saying that 18,000 naira at the time could not take you home. It wasn't even take home pay, you know. So 30,000, does it change anything?
Well, so there are two sides to it. You want something that can take them home, but you also want something that is affordable. So I think it has to be a compromise between both.
Let's not also forget that not everybody takes 30,000 naira home.
Well, absolutely, because even in the private sector, there are a few companies that have people who earn less than 30,000.
Yeah.
So I think for me, the civil service question or the minimum wage question cannot be answered without productivity, without streamlining, without delay.
Just let me jump in there quickly before we move on to this day. Are you of the opinion, or do you have any response to the people who say the civil service needs to be pruned? It has to be based on people who are effective, are value adding, and not necessarily a come one, come all thing.
So there are two ways to look at it. You can say, okay, let's not even prune. Let's start with what we have, but you have to give people productivity targets. You know, if it took you 2 hours to do a task in 2010, it should take you 30 minutes to do it in 2019. You know, so that's one way to look at it. Another way to look at it is say, okay, let's, let's just start by reducing the number, reducing head count. Now that has a lot of social and political implications. I don't think too many politicians will be, even in the midst of the difficulties in states with paying salaries, not many of them prune their civil service. So I think that's always going to be a political consideration. It's always going to be a social consideration. But my point is, even if you don't prune, ensure that these people are working. Because at the end of the day, the civil service is the instrument of government. I mean, it's not the politicians, yeah, they're good. They provide political leadership because they're elected into office. But whatever policy is out there, if we don't have a civil service that can see to it that the policies, don't forget that the civil service guides the executive, even in the recommendation of bills to the National Assembly. They tell people in the Ministry of Health, we say, oh, this is how health insurance should be, and so on. So if we cannot achieve productivity in the civil service, policies will be they'll be dead rubber.
As good as nothing.
Yeah.
All right, in this day newspaper, that's our next paper this morning. Top story here says, PDP petitions NJC over abortion of Bauchi election results coalition. Court refuses to stop collation of Rivers election results. INEC questions judges' jurisdiction on post-election matters. And of course, appeal court president places election tribunal judges on watch list. Interesting. Top of the paper this morning, more firms eye $60 trillion dollar green bond market for project funding. More firms eye $60 trillion green bond market for project funding. I'll get to hear from you. And of course, NNPC releases guidelines for 2019 crude oil swap contract. We're still on that matter. APC to PDP, you are hallucinating. Oh, these jabs are one too many. And of course, just at the bottom, Senate condemns militarization of election process. And that's it on this day newspaper. Apparently, you can find the militarization issue on page 6 of this day newspaper. This was what caused the rowdy session yesterday. I mean, it was a bit, ridiculous.
Look, I mean, there should be some dignity, right? I understand. I mean, even in the business I do, I get worked up sometimes. But I think that show of bravado and just absolute indiscretion yesterday was unnecessary. I mean, and I will actually commend the Senate president, because at some point...
I think, I was just about to say, the two people who were somewhat composed, or three, was Shehu Sani, was the Senate president himself. He was unperturbed. He was very calm and handled it. And then I think Barnabas Gemade, they were all just, calm.
Very calm. And I commend him because he could have decided to take sides. I mean, we know what side he's on, but he was very calm. He stuck to the issues, and I mean, that's how it should be. Although, to be fair, I don't think those guys are not friends. I mean, this is what we see in the public. Politicians, they live in a different universe entirely. So let's be very careful how much we read into what happened. But another story here that really catches the eye is the green bond. The green bond.
Yes, let's talk about it. $60 trillion. That's a lot of money.
That's a huge market.
I know.
So, I mean, it's really financial instruments that are used to invest in projects around renewables. So whether it's solar power or is any kind of renewable energy.
Yeah.
Of course, we know that in Nigeria, we have to diversify our energy mix.
Well, yeah, we haven't gotten to having electric cars and green. Well, we have greenhouses and all of that, but then we're trying to...
Yeah, I mean, in real estate, there's a lot of investments in alternative energy sources. I think it will continue to grow. Again, these things, the more investments, the cheaper they will come. Currently, they're still very, very highly priced. I mean, the price points are still solar is still expensive, but it's a lot cheaper than it was
when it first came out. Yeah.
So I think the more, I mean, in Nigeria, I know I think a couple of banks, at least I'm very sure of one, has issued green notes. So, I mean, let's see.
Well, that's a start.
Yeah, that's a.
But then again, what about us, the people? How well are we embracing green? Because when we talk green, people are talking just about the environmental aspect of it. But we still do not necessarily understand the nitty-gritty. Yeah. So how much information is out there?
It's still top line. It's still very top of the pyramid. But I think, again, well, although to be fair, there are a few retail products. I know an energy company that had a solar lantern that was sold across its downstream stations. Yeah. Yeah. So people will catch on. It's just we need to keep the investments in this sector so that the more purchases and the more investments, the more efficient production will be and the cheaper it will eventually become.
All right.
Yeah.
Let's move on to the Nation newspaper. Top story here, the top left of the Nation newspaper. 3 killed in Lagos. Police robbers battle. Insurgency, NAF to take delivery of aircrafts. And on the top right of the same paper, Fayose judge, EFCC, Fayose on his matter, the judge and the EFCC's lawyer clash. Court seals Access and Diamond merger. Well, that's a finality now.
Happy married life.
And of course, Buhari declines assent to 5 bills. You can find that on page 10 of the Nation newspaper, because the president actually explains and gives his reasons for, not giving his assent. Raw okays Onachu or Onuachu for first game. That's interesting. Inside the Nation newspaper, page 41, Reps Olatoye's murder. Monarch exonerates Oyo lawmaker. And of course, we can see the Nigeria Navy on the Gulf of Guinea. They're trying to make sure it's safe, because we share that border. And again, bottom of the paper, presidency spanks PDP for threatening to stop Buhari. These papers keep cracking me up. I don't know. These headlines, they're just interesting. Opposition says it may seek court order to block inauguration. Okay. I think I want to take your thoughts on that one. Presidency spanks.
I mean, obviously, the Nation is a progressive-leaning newspaper.
I know.
So
they remind me of the Daily Mail.
Yeah. So I think it's. I mean, I'm sure their copywriter or their
chief
title editor must have mulled over this for a while. I mean, I think. Well, yeah, we understand. Again, like I said, it's politics. It's a game. People are still upset, But let's not read too much into this, because I keep saying you will be shocked that all the principal actors across the two parties, might end up being in the same party in 4 years' time.
But they're saying they might block the inauguration.
I'm not a lawyer. I'll be careful about meddling in that. But I think that is just, I mean, that's one direction we don't want to go into.
Why not?
Well,
I'm just asking. I'm not in any way supporting anybody.
As far as I know, there's supposed to be a tribunal, which is also a judicial process. It may not be your high court or your appeal court, but it's a judicial process and a judicial institution made up of lawyers, where the judicial process is run. So you have the defendants, you have the the appellants or the prosecutors and the defendants.
Yes.
I mean, it might not be those same terms.
The PDP is actually a petitioner.
Petitioners,
yes.
Yeah, the petitioners and the defendants. So it's a judicial process, and I think that patience has to be a virtue at this point in time. The truth is, if you're going to win it, even if the president has been inaugurated, if a process shows that you won the election, that will be nullified. So let's just follow the judicial process and then let's see to the end.
Where it takes us. Let's talk about the fact that 3 people were killed in Lagos and the police also, the police and robbers battled. One would think that, you know, Lagos is safe to an extent.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that, you know, at some point within the life of this administration, security wasn't our biggest issue in Lagos. But I mean, maybe it's again, you know, there's been a transition from the previous commissioner to the new commissioner. So I don't know if that's a problem, but I think this is something we need to, you know, Lagos, one of the values we, you know, for a state like Lagos has to be security, because I mean, you can't do business in a place that's not secure.
It's not safe.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Let's quickly just, I just want a statement from you for the merger between, you know, the Diamond Bank and Access Bank.
I mean, it's...
Because a lot of people are confused as to what it was, what exactly it was, if the logos were going to change, but, you know.
Well, I mean, I think the question of the logo, I think, is a marketing decision. I think they want to position as a strong retail bank, and also position as a strong business bank across Africa. So they will have to decide which of the logos will have to best reflect that positioning. But I think it's good. You know, they're building Africa's biggest retail group. I mean, it's exciting times. We'll have to see. Both banks deploy technology very optimally. So
let's see where this leads us.
Yeah.
All right. Our last paper, the Punch newspaper. The top story here says, runoffs, Abdulsalami panel meets parties, INEC, police tighten security. PDP petitions NJC over judge's ruling on Bauchi results coalition, and we can see pictures on the Punch newspaper. I think people who are protesters, members of the Nigerian Union of Pensioners Federal Branch in Lagos State, over non-payment of pension arrears by federal government in Lagos. I tell you what, this is something that I never get to understand, because it's not the government's money per se, it's their money, it's a contributory scheme. And at the end of the day, how come these people have to scream and cry? I hear that people even die on the lines while they're trying to get these monies paid and all of that. And I have parents who are, one day would be really aged and would have to be going through all of this. Yeah. What, is there no dignity in labor anymore, and you cannot enjoy the fruit of your labor after all?
Yeah, it's a massive scar on anything called humanity, you know, just respecting the dignity of labor. And I'm careful to allot blame, because some of these people retired 25, 30 years ago. So we can't say, oh, this government has refused to pay pensions. That's why this has been on for so many years. You know, I think that one of the things, the government has to be creative around this. One of the ways it can go around it is essentially sell these debts to people who are willing to buy. You know, so I don't know, it could be issuing a bond to pay pensioners, or directly just selling these pension liabilities as notes to private investors, and then paying them over time with interest. There has to be a way around
because
this.
I'm just wondering why it's such a tough task. If I'm talking about people in the private sector, don't suffer this much to get their pensions at the end of the day, why should the government be having this kind of problems? Is it because the government wants to do everything?
The system has improved, so I think younger retirees will not, I don't think they will be, because now is the CPS contributory scheme, you have pension fund administrators and custodians. There's a smart system around it now. I think the challenge will be how to deal with the legacy debts. And that is where real creativity has to come in, because this doesn't add up.
It's embarrassing.
Embarrassing.
Well, I want to thank you very much, Obinna Igwebuike. He's a management consultant, for speaking with us this morning.
Thank you.
All right, we'll take a short break, and when we come back, we'll be talking sports. Stay with us. We have Samson joining us on the sports segment on Off the Press, and we're going to be looking at stories from Complete Sports. Big stories here. Balogun Etebo battle ready for Seychelles. England-based duo in full training for 2019 AFCON qualifier. Again, still on the AFCON qualifier, Eagles vow to beat Seychelles. If they don't, they shouldn't come back. United lead race to sign Griezmann. That's an interesting one. And Madrid proposed Varane main swap deal. Mourinho sets June date to return to management. I thought he was going to stay on that holiday for longer. Barcelona ready to sell £80 million Coutinho. Wow. That's a good sell. Interesting. And of course, PSG ponder £68 million cruise swap. Pogba dreams of Real Madrid move, and Libya shock under 23 Eagles 2-0. Wow, I'm going to start with that. Samson.
Yeah, disappointing result for the Olympic Eagles, as you may want to call them. It was a match we expected them to win, and the match itself.
Libya.
Well, don't say Libya, because over the last 5-6 years, Libyan football has been on the rise.
Really?
They've done so well in terms of recruiting youngsters, into their various national teams, and more importantly is, for every tournament they participate in, you see the improvements both in performance and in results as well. So you have to give them kudos, especially when you consider what they are going through at home in terms of the war. So the Libyan football is really on the rise. Nonetheless, we weren't expecting this kind of results. We weren't even expecting a draw. We are the defending champions. We're expecting more from the Eagles, in the, and considering the array of talents we've got, it should have been a stroll in the park. Yeah. I saw highlights of the game, lots of mistakes here and there, especially individual mistakes, and then the goals considered, not taking anything away from the Libyan side, it's what do you refer to as schoolboy errors, So it's disappointing, and it's not the right way to kick off your title defense. We need to get back on track in our next game, and hopefully, Imama, the coach, can rally the guys to get it done.
I hope so.
Yeah, Balogun Etebo battle ready for Seychelles.
I love me some Balogun.
It's a dead rubber game, so you don't expect the guys to go all out in getting probably maximum points and all. I'm more concerned about the performance, especially for the fringe players who get the opportunity to showcase what they've got. You need to see them express themselves, and
then
hopefully,
we can determine what
you can determine if they would have a spot, or in the 23-man team that would represent us at the.
So in other words, this seals the deal for them. If they do great, then they might be.
Yes, this and the international friendly against Egypt just 3 days after. Those are 2 games that would probably determine if they would join the train for the journey to Egypt. That's for the 2019 AFCON. Right. You talked about United leading the race to sign Griezmann. Just yesterday, Morata, was saying that Atletico Madrid is Griezmann's home. As I say oftentimes, it's, when you get towards the end of the season, lots of speculations, here and there as regards players. But you get the feeling that if Atletico Madrid, drops out of the Champions League spot, which seems, impossible, then Griezmann might leave. This is a player that is repeatedly in the market, so to speak, But I think that Atletico Madrid will still want to hold on to him. He signed a new contract last year, and you expect him to honor it at least for another year. But the market is inflated. It's all about the cash. If United comes up with probably £150 million, then I think Atletico Madrid, you know, want to go for the money itself. And then Madrid definitely will be making lots of moves, you know, this summer. It depends on who Zinedine Zidane wants to get. Mane is probably in the form of his life at this point in time. And then beyond the goals, he's also playing so well. So if a Mane-Varane swap deal will be good for United, really, for Liverpool rather, because Varane, you want to reckon, is better than Lovren.
Well,
so if you have a Varane and Virgil van Dijk, you know, in Liverpool's heart of defense,
that would be a good.
That would be a very good one for them.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's look at other stories now. There's this issue of Mourinho. I want to talk about Mourinho because I love a Mourinho, but I was just tired of a Mourinho. I was hoping he would stay in. You know, I loved him when he's, you know, analyzing the games. I'd rather that he stay
as a pundit.
Yes, as a pundit. I would rather that he stays on that holiday for a bit before he comes back out. Because after, correct me if I'm wrong, after a bit there, he was not necessarily being taken too seriously any longer. I don't know what was responsible for that.
Well, for coaches, a breather is expected, but it's difficult for them to stay out of the game for so long. Most of them, at most, they take a year back, and you know, afterwards they want to get back. They're eager to get back. They're probably refreshed, probably one or two, you know, refresher courses here and there, and they just want to get back into the thick of things. And you look at it, really, Mourinho is still a top manager, you know, regardless of how he left United in terms of results or how he left Chelsea. If there's anything that has plagued him over time, it's his man management skills. You know, his interpersonal relationship with his players, you know, calling out players and all. It's okay to do the hairdresser treatment, as Fergie will call it, but there are times you also have to understand that, you know, you also have to massage the egos of these players to get the best of results. I mean, if your coach is telling you that it was your body that played, but it was his brain that played the football when he was referring to Luke Shaw, you know, it doesn't inspire confidence. It doesn't want to make you play for the manager and all of that. So in terms of man management skills, probably he's learned one or two things, you know.
I hope.
But again, it's what makes Mourinho. You can't take it away from him, his record.
But you get tired of it after a while.
You get tired quite all right. It depends on who. I mean, it was linked with Real Madrid. We were thinking that Madrid would go for him, and then all of a sudden Zinedine Zidane unexpectedly returned. So now, which club is going to go for Mourinho? Is he going to go back to Inter Milan? There's Bayern Munich there who will most likely, you know, dismiss Niko Kovac, their coach, at the end of the season. So a couple of top clubs here and there will still go for him.
We'll just keep our fingers crossed on that one. Thank you very much, Samson, for being here. Well, we got to wrap things up at this point on Off the Press. I am Mary-Ann Okon. Enjoy the rest of our programs.